Welcome once again in the class of design of steel structures. So we are learning the design of beams. So far we have learned what are the types of beams, what is beam, then lateral instability and bearing stresses. So I am Mr. S. S. Ogule, Assistant Professor, Civil Engineering Department. So first of all, what is the shear stress? So the shear stress has been developed due to the shear force, and shear force is nothing but the you have seen already. It is the algebraic sum of the for all the forces on the one side of the section. Basically, it causes the shear action in the beam, so that uh, it is will do like something like this. Like one force is in this direction and another force is in this direction. So always there is some kind of force on the every section of them. As we will take the example of this thing. So here in this particular section there will be some shear force, and this tends to cut the beam like this. So always we have to go through this thing, uh, that is this under the shear force. So basically the beam is subjected to two types of shear, that is transverse shear that has been shown in this case, so that the vertical forces are acting on the beam and the shear is in this vertical direction, that is like this and this is from the bottom, it's like this. It is under the shear action. Same ways same thing appears over here also. So the and the longitudinal shear, so I will explain this thing in later. uh, the transverse shear failure does not usually occur in the regular steel beam, as beam will fail due to wave crippling prior to the transverse shear failure. That this wave crippling we are going to see in coming lectures. So but it may occur if beam is deeply coped as shown in this way. So sometimes what will happen, due to this section the crack will develop like this. So this is nothing but the shear failure due to the shear force, that is one force is going from here and another force is coming from here. So obviously this crack will develop like this, the diagonal crack will develop, and this is nothing but the shear failure. Then the longitudinal or horizontal shear occurs due to bending in the beam. The fibers above the neutral axis shorten in the length due to this bending, and those below the neutral axis will elongate under the sagging bending moment. So what will happen? These fibers tends to slip over one another like this. Due to this compression, they will move in the inside direction, and due to elongation, they will move in this outward direction. So what will happen? Obviously, the shear action will take place, and they tends to slip over each other. So the effect is maximum at the neutral axis. So this is nothing but the longitudinal shear. So the transverse and longitudinal shears are interrelated by the formula, that is tau equals to VA y bar divided by T into I. So this is nothing but the we have already seen that formula, that is sometimes we have seen this like this, that Q equals to S A y bar divided by this BI. So in some books it has been given like this, Q is equal to SAY bar divided by BI. So that Q or tau is nothing but the shear stress at the horizontal section, V is the shear force, V or S is the shear force, AY is the moment of the area above neutral axis above the section has been considered, I is the moment of inertia, and T is the particular width of that section, T or B. So moving further, the major portion of the shear stress is resisted by the web, whereas the flanges resisted only the minor portion of it. So here take this thing into the account, that is here you can see this web portion, this web portion you can see it will resist the major portion, that is this. This major portion has been resisted by the web portion, and flanges taken only minor portion of it. So that's why for shear calculation, the only web size is assumed to be equal to the depth of the girder, that is the beam. The maximum value of the shear stress occurs at the neutral axis. However, as you can see over here, the maximum value occurs over here. It is at the neutral axis. However, for an I section, the average value of the shear stress is approximately the same as that of maximum shear stress value for I section. For the design purpose, therefore, average shear stress is calculated and checked. The average shear stress is worked out on the gross area of the web and is taken equal to the web thickness multiplied by the overall depth of the beam. Thus, for an I section, this average shear stress, that is tau VA, equals to the shear force V divided by T into D. T is nothing but the thickness of the web and D is the overall depth. So shear determines the design of the beams in the following cases. That is, when the depth of the beam section is small and is loaded uniformly. Second thing, when the large concentrated loads are placed near the beam support, and in a tall building, the upper story columns may be offset with respect to the lower story column. The load from the upper story column will be transferred to the beam end in such case. So sometimes this may happen, that is, if we have the column like this is the column and beam has been kept on the column over here, and sometimes what happens, this next column will be somewhere over here. So obviously this is the reaction and this is the force, so obviously there will be a shear development. So these are the large concentrated load placed near the beam support. The load from upper story column will be transferred to the beam end in such cases. And in plate girder, where the web thickness is small. So according to IS 800, the maximum permissible shear stress should not exceed the value of tau Vm, which is given by tau Vm equals to 0.45 Fy. And the permissible average shear stress, that is tau Va, on the web, though whose the depth does not exceed 85 times its thickness, is equals to zero point 0.4 into Fy. And for the built-up girders with plates and angles where the depth and thickness ratio of web exceeds 85, the stiffeners are necessary, and the permissible shear stress then depend upon the panel dimensions also. The stiffened webs, the permissible average shear stress is determined from the tables. This table 6.6, that is table number 6.6 and 6.6a to 6.6c from the IS 800, and clause for the shear force has been given in clause number 6.4, that is page number 68 and 69. So this is about the shear stress. We will see the uh, clauses from the code. So you can see the 6.4, that is for the shear stresses in code. So the maximum shear stress in a member having regards to the distribution of stresses in conformity with the elastic behavior of the member in flexure shall not exceed the value of tau Vm given below, that is tau Vm equals to 0.45 Fy, where tau Vm is maximum permissible shear stress and Fy is the yield stress. And for the average shear stress in a member calculated on the cross section of the web shall not exceed the in for the unstiffened webs, that is value of tau Va obtained by the formula, that is tau Va should not exceed zero point 0.4 Fy, and for the stiffened webs the table number 6.6a to 6.6c. So these things has been given over here, table number 6.6. So this is the table number 6.6a to 6.6c. So how this is how the specifications has been given in the code. But remember, in case of most of the times, in case of shear stress, we need to take a check for the shear stress. Most of the times, we have to design the beam with the help of the bending moment and the bending stresses itself, and only we need to take the check for the shear stresses. So that comes for the checking purpose only, that is shear. One more thing we need to check is the deflection. So why deflection is important? Because the few things has been given also here, but in my opinion, most of the times, suppose you are moving from the suspension bridge, that is sometimes we call it as a zulta pool. So we are moving from that bridge, and bridge is structurally sound, and but it is kind of shaky in nature while moving. So we will feel unsafe. That is a psychological thing, and there will be a fear in our mind while crossing that bridge. So to overcome this feeling, which is coming under the serviceability condition, these things are there for the comfort and convenience. So there, these deflections and cracks sometimes may plays the major role. Cracks in case of concrete, although, but in case of this steel, the deflection plays the important part. So the small deflection of the beam does not cause the structural problem in general, except for the discomfort to the users. Excessive deflection may lead to the cracks in the plaster or ceiling, and may damage the material attached to or supported by the beam. These limit the maximum deflections to the span divided by 325. So this is the limit of the deflection, that is span divided by 325. Besides this, some other reasons for limiting deflections are: the excessive deflection may create a problem for floor or roof drainage. That is, if the permanent deflection is there, because of which water will accumulate at the places where deflection is there, and that will create a problem of the drainage. Then, in most of the cases, the beams framed together are of different sections. They must deflect alike. Such beams should have identical calculated deflection. So sometimes what will happen, I will show you. So this is a kind of grid. Here you can see this beam is of different section, and this is of different section. So even though they are having the different section, so obviously they, and even though different spans are there, so obviously they will deflect in a different manner, or in a different values of deflections are there. So while calculating, we need to keep in mind this all assembly will produce a single value of deflection. So those things we need to take care of while doing the designs. Here also you can see this whole purlin and rafter form the grid for this thing. So obviously the deflection value would be checked while doing the calculations and preparing or designing these kind of things. they, then the deflection may cause the undesirable twisting and distortion of connection and connected members. So sometimes what will happen, because of this uneven deflections, sometimes may twisting or distortion of the connection may take place. So, however, the designer can reduce the deflection by increasing the depth of the beam section, reducing the span, providing the greater end distance, or by any other means. So, it is the duty of the designer actually to reduce the deflection. But while reducing these things, we have to keep in mind that it should be under the economy, or economy should be kept in mind while doing these things. Now, the web buckling. The web is in a rolled steel section, behaves like a column. As I told you earlier, we have taken the example. It is something like these are the like small columns, and when we are placing the concentrated, it will act as a small column. So the web is quite thin and therefore subjected to buckling. So it will buckle like this. So the buckling in the web is very much influenced by the restraints provided for the flanges. So various types of buckling can occur as shown in these figures. So here you can see this kind of buckling should occur, and these are the condition. The first is restraint against lateral deflection and rotation. The effective depth of this thing is d1 by 2, that is depth of this particular uh, web. So you can see. So second thing is restraint against lateral deflection but not against rotation. So the effective depth is 2/3 of d1. As you can see over here, it will buckle like this. So it is not moving, neither rotating. But here it is not moving but it has some rotation in it. The third thing is the restraint against rotation but not against lateral deflection. So rotation has been checked over here, and but this lateral movement is there, that's why this thing has been somewhat deflected slightly. So and the effective depth is d1 over here. Then not restrained against rotation and lateral deflection, the effective depth is 2d1. So you can see it is moved as well as the rotated also. So these are the web buckling conditions. Now to check this buckling of the web, bearing stiffeners are provided. As per IS 800, bearing stiffeners should be provided where the concentrated loads or reaction exceeds the value of sigma AC into tau into B, where the sigma AC is the maximum permissible axial stress for column having slenderness ratio d1 into under root 3 divided by t. The web thickness is t is the web thickness, and b, it is the length of steep portion of the bearing plus additional length given by the dispersion at 45 degree to the level of the neutral axis. The steep portion of the bearing should not exceed half the depth of the beam when simply supported. The full depth of the beam when continuous over the bearing. Here you can see we have to take this P. It has been dispersed by 45 degree, and at the neutral axis this is the B, and this is the D1, which is the depth of the web. So here you can see clear depth of the web between roots of the fillet, that is D, overall depth D minus 2 into H2. H2 is the this depth of this or the that is thickness of the flanges. So we'll get D1. H1 is the depth of the root of the fillet. Then D1 is the overall depth of the beam. When the flanges are restrained, again the lateral displacement and rotation, the effective length of the web, that is L equals to D1 by 2. That is this first case. Restraint against lateral deflection and rotation. So slenderness ratio is D1 by 2 divided by Ry. That is smaller slenderness ratio. So d1 by 2 under root Iyy divided by a. So d1 by 2, that is 1/12 bt cube. B is the width of this thing and t is the this thickness of the web divided by area, that is b into t. We are considering this section. So that becomes d1 by t into under root 3. So this is all about the bearing, that is this slenderness ratio. So again, web buckling is nothing but the designing a small amount of column which is having a air cross section area of this. We have to find the sigma IC. So likewise, we need to take a check for this, and whether it is buckling or not. And if it is buckling, we have to do some arrangements for the same. So this is about the web buckling. So this is about today's lecture. Further, we'll going to see the web preplinks and design of these members. So references for today's lecture is design of steel structure by S.K. Dukkal, that is TMG publications. Then the slideshare.net. So thank you for today.